Welcome to our Carrick Toastmasters Club. In our Toastmasters Club this morning, our topic is becoming an educated diamond buyer. And in our Toastmasters Club, after we've completed 10 speeches, we get the designation of Competent Communicator, or CC for short. So a lot of you here in the club know me as Ray Lapalkin, CC. However, this morning, I'm going to be Ray Lapalkin, GG, Graduate Gemologist. Probably a lot of you who know me did know that I actually spent 30 years in the jewelry industry. And my time in the jewelry industry, I was able to attend the Gemologic Institute of America in New York City. And there I was given the designation of Graduate Gemologist. So today I'm trading in my CC for a GG. In the jewelry industry, I really enjoyed my time in the jewelry industry. And I always considered myself as being on the front line. In other words, I was talking and selling directly with the customers rather than having more of a back office type of work. And one of the things I really liked about the jewelry industry is that it's a happy purchase, meaning people come in and they buy for a happy occasion, whether it's a wedding, an anniversary, there's birthdays, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, but it almost always is a happy occasion. So the people made that happy purchase, and it was always a pleasant experience. One of the other things I liked also about the jewelry industry is that after people would make a purchase, they would always shake my hand and say thank you, and they gave me their money, hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So how would you like a job like that where people thanked you for taking their money? I certainly enjoyed it. One of the things, though, that I did not like about the jewelry industry was that occasionally people were taken advantage of by perhaps unscrupulous or unethical merchants. And this really bothered me, and that was my motivation for wanting to create this course, Becoming a Better or an Educated Diamond Buyer. And I actually taught this course at community college, the CCAC, here in Pittsburgh. The course lasted about 3 or 4 weeks. It was one evening per week. And the whole course lasted about 10 to 12 hours. Now, because of our time constraints, I'm going to have to make this course about 10 to 12 minutes. So that gives me two dilemmas. One of my dilemmas is that I have to condense 10 to 12 hours into 10 to 12 minutes, or 10 to 15 minutes. My other dilemma is, how am I going to know that after you watch my program today and you attend this meeting, how will I know you became an educated diamond buyer? So I was up all night last night. I couldn't sleep at all. I was awake. How am I going to solve these two dilemmas? And then I had this flashback. I was sitting in my calculus class, my freshman year, first semester in college. And the professor came in, and he stood up in front of us, and he said, for this class, I'm not going to take attendance. So if you don't want to come to class, you don't have to. He also said he wasn't going to collect our homework. So if you don't want to do your homework, you don't have to. He said there weren't going to be any quizzes. There weren't going to be any chapter exams. There was not going to be a midterm exam. He said our whole grade was based just on one thing, and that one thing was the final exam. And not only that, he said he was only giving 2 grades. If you passed the test, in other words, if he felt that you understood calculus, you got an A. If he felt that you didn't understand calculus, you failed the class. A light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, that's it. I'm going to give a final exam today. So after my presentation, I'm going to have a final exam. And that way, we can all see if you become an educated diamond buyer. Now, I thought I'm going to carry it one step further. And on our final exam today, there's only going to be one question. That's right, just one question. If you get the question right, you graduate my class. You become an educated diamond buyer. If you don't graduate, if you don't pass the test, you have to repeat my class. So listen very closely to everything I say. I'm very, very confident everybody will do well. In the jewelry industry, you may have heard the term the 4 C's before. Color, clarity, carat weight, and cut. Those are the 4 variables that determine the quality of the diamond. The first of those is color. The color scale starts with the letter D, and it goes down through the alphabet, E, F, G, etc. D being the whitest stone, or absence of color. And as you go down the scale, each letter grade, you get a little bit of yellow in the stone. Probably 99% of the diamonds will have a light yellow or a light brown color. Now I was going to focus mostly on what we would call like a bridal piece or an engagement ring of, let's say, a ½ carat or more. And the average color would be in the GH range. Therefore, if you went down a grade, like to an E or F, you get a little whiter stone. And then also, you could look at fashion jewelry. Fashion jewelry, the color scale would be more of an IJ color range. Now, the economics of it is that most people like a whiter stone, and it's obviously rarer, so therefore you're going to pay more money. So every time you go just one step from a D to an E, E to an F, and so on, you're going to get a change in the price. Now, on a 1 carat stone, it's probably going to be as much, assuming that all the other variables are similar, it's going to be probably in the range of $800 or $1,000. And that's really individual preference. Some customers might say, I'm willing to pay the extra money, I want to get a nice white stone in the DEF range. Others might say, I'd rather get a little larger stone and let the price drop a little bit and get more in the HIJ range. So again, the color is really individual preference. Now, another thing that happens with the color scale is that as you go down, I was mentioning in the letters, the price drops. However, once you get towards the end, the price actually goes back up again. And these are called fancy diamonds. You may have heard the term canary yellow, or you may have seen a very beautiful, very yellow diamond. So the price actually goes back up toward the end. You see a lot of colored stones or colored diamonds perhaps in blue. Now they do come naturally, blue, green, red, orange. They'll come naturally in all colors. They'll be very, very expensive. The ones you see in the stores, perhaps a lot of some of the yellow and perhaps the blue, are usually irradiated. In other words, they're treated. And that's what gives them that color. So the price of those, you're probably going to pay similar that you would probably for like a GHI stone, assuming the other variables are the same. Our next C is clarity. And clarity is what the diamond looks like under 10 power magnification under a microscope. The scale is going to start at flawless, meaning there's no imperfections that can be seen with 10 power magnification inside the diamond. And on the outside also, there's no scratches or pit marks. The next scale goes down to VVS, which stands for very, very slightly included, 1 and 2, 1 being higher than 2. Then to VS, 1 and 2, which is very slightly included, SI, slightly included, and then I, which is included. The rule of thumb is if you could look at the diamond and actually see something with the naked eye, it's probably in the I1 or lower range. SI2 and above would probably need 10 power magnification to see something inside. Now, you could have different inclusions inside the stone. We call them feathers. A lot of, to the lay persons, they might call it a crack in the stone. You also have included crystals, which might look black inside the stone. And all these will determine, depending how many they are or how strong it is once you look under 10 power magnification, would determine the grade of these. Now, one thing that I'm going to be mentioning throughout is how do you know that you're getting that grade? How do you know that's an accurate reading? For instance, what's the difference between an E and an F color, or a VS2 and a SI1 in the clarity? Well, what you want to do is get a GIA certificate. GIA is the Gemologic Institute of America, and in their laboratory, they'll have 3 graders who have to come to a consensus on the grade. And by doing that, then you know exactly what you're getting. Because what happens a lot of times, if you want to shop, obviously, if you want to get a good value, and you're comparing going store to store, you want to compare, the term is apples to apples. So if stores have a Gemologic Institute of America certificate, then you can actually see what the grade is and compare the price. What happens a lot of times is the merchant might say something like, oh, I've been in the business 20 years or 25 years. You don't have to worry with that certificate. I know my grades. But just to give one example, on a 1 carat round stone, let's say it's a G color and an SI2 or an I1 clarity. The difference between an SI2 and an I1 is probably the biggest jump. And on a 1 carat stone, it would be about $2,000. So if somebody said, let's say they had a G SI2 and they're selling it for $5,000, and you go to another store that's not certified and they have a G SI2 for, let's say, $4,000, you might say, hey, I'm saving $1,000, when in reality that SI2 is probably or could be an I1. So the merchant is buying an I1 stone, selling it up here as an SI2. You think you're saving $1,000 buying at $4,000, when in reality that should be sold at $3,000. So you're actually paying $1,000 more. You're not saving $1,000. So the GI cert, I cannot emphasize that enough. You really want to get that to compare and authenticize the quality of your diamond. The next of the C's is the carat weight. And the carat weight is pretty much straightforward. It's just the weight of the stone. The only thing perhaps to mention there is that diamonds can be proportioned differently. So you may have a stone that we use the term spread, meaning it's not very deep, but it's spread wide, so it might look large, but when you weigh it, it doesn't weigh as much as you actually think. And just the vice versa, the same thing where the stone could be very deep. So you might be paying for a lot. You might buy a carat stone, but it's very deep, and therefore it maybe only looks like a 3/4 carat rather than a carat. But the carat weight is very important. And what's important there too is the price changes at these different increments. As you can see on the chart, you have like a 1/4 carat, a half, 1 carat, carat and a quarter. So when the diamond weight hits 1 carat, it jumps up in the price per carat. When it hits a carat, it jumps up again in the price per carat. When you're buying diamonds, you see a lot, like if you go to a merchant, they'll probably have a large inventory right around a carat because the diamond cutter makes sure they leave enough on the diamond to get to a carat, because a 0.98 or 0.99 will sell for substantially lower than that 1 carat. So they want to leave that weight on there to get that price per carat. So if you can find a diamond in the 0.9 to 0.99 range, usually you can get it. It's usually a nice buy because you're getting a less per carat, but it actually still looks almost just like a carat. You probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between it, but you just don't see so many of those. And that's our carat weight. The last cut, or the last C, is cut. And cut is not to be confused with the shape of the stone. The shape of the diamonds are different. The round brilliant is the most popular because it maximizes the brilliant. You have the marquise shape, which is shaped like a football. Princess cut, which is square shaped. You have oval, pear shape. There are many different cuts. Those, other than the round, we call fancy cuts. But the cut of the stone, out of all the 4 C's, is considered the most important because that's the one that contributes to the beauty of the diamond. And here we're talking, it's a lot of mathematics, but we're talking about how the diamond is proportioned. If you look at the chart, the 3 examples on the bottom, you can see the proper cut on the left. Light goes in, reflects around, and comes back out. And that maximizes, and that's where you get the beauty from the diamond, the brilliance. The second example, I had mentioned about a stone being too deep. Well, their light is leaking out the side of the stone. It's not going to be as brilliant. And the third example on your right is too shallow, so therefore light is just passing right through the diamond. And likewise, you're not going to see much brilliance in the stone. Of course, your next question might be, well, how do I know I'm getting a nice cut stone? Again, I go back to the GIA cert, and it gets very, very technical and mathematical, but there's about 4 or 5 different formulas or parameters that are used to determine a good cut stone. We don't have time to go into that today, but for instance, one is you're comparing the top of the table with the diameter of the stone, the diameter with the depth. There's a couple of measurements for angles. The top is the crown angle, so you're looking at the angle there, and also the angle of the pavilion, the bottom of the stone. So when we're looking at that, if you have this GI certificate, and you can see that my diamond falls within these parameters, then you know you're getting a nice quality diamond. But out of the 4, the cut is the most important for that reason, because that's what gives you the brilliance to the stone. In other words, let's say, for example, somebody came up to you and they just got engaged, they're all excited, and they come up and they say, look, I just got engaged. Would you look at their stone and say, oh, you have a 1.26 GVS2? Or would you say, wow, that's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's brilliant? That's probably what you're going to say, and that's what you're going to notice. And that comes from the cut. So the cut is considered the most important for that reason, because it maximizes the beauty. I think I've said pretty much everything I wanted to cover. As I said in my class, I taught it was 10 to 15 hours. We limited this a little bit more, but this is just a little overview. You can always get in touch with us and we could talk a little bit more about it. But I think I've said everything I wanted to, and I think we're probably ready for our final exam, because that's what I realized from, as I said, my calculus professor gave me that inspiration to do that final exam, and that's what I want to do today. So is everybody ready? Is everybody confident? I'm sure all of you were listening very intently and very closely to what I said, and I think we're ready for our final exam. So your final exam is going to consist of one question, and your question is, out of the 4 C's, color, clarity, carat weight, and cut, which one of those 4 is considered the most important because it shows the brilliance and the beauty of the diamond? That's your question today. Which one of those 4 is going to maximize the brilliance of the diamond? Color, clarity, carat weight, or cut? Which one do you think is most important? I'm confident in everybody. I know all of you out there will just do well. It's not that I don't want to see you again and have to repeat my class, but I want 100% graduation today. Color, clarity, carat weight, or cut? Okay, everybody put your pencils down. What do you think it is? What I'd like to do is to invite everybody to our meeting, Toastmasters Carrick, PA. Bring your answer with you. I'd be glad to go over it with you. Come enjoy our meeting with us. We meet on Saturday mornings, the first and third Saturday of every month at the Carrick Library on Brownsville Road. Shortly, starting in March, we're going to be moving to the Knoxville Library because they're renovating Carrick. But we've been showing our website on the screen and a phone number. You can always call and get in touch with us. And please come enjoy our meeting. I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with Toastmasters. I'd like just to read a few things, but generally speaking, the Toastmasters Club helps us to develop our public speaking, to perhaps alleviate the fear we have of public speaking and standing in front of a group of people. A lot of times you hear, they'll ask, what is your greatest fear in life? And people say, getting up in front of a crowd and speaking. And that's why we do this. We also have what is called the Gavel Club. The Gavel Club is for middle and high school students, and they have pretty much the same procedure in our clubs, but it gets some confidence in school because all of us at some time are going to be getting up and giving reports. Even in our job, depending on what your profession is, you maybe have to lead a meeting as a manager or supervisor. You may have to get up in front of a group and give a report, and this helps you to develop the skills that can help you accomplish this. I'd like to just read a few notes, the benefits of Toastmaster membership. Participation in a unique and proven program for developing your communication and leadership skills. A positive and supportive atmosphere in a community of learners. The opportunity to find your voice while learning to tell your story with confidence. Regular and constructive feedback from other learners as you practice organizing your thoughts and presenting them clearly. And that's the nice thing. We have, after each speech, we have an evaluation. Somebody evaluates your speech. Sometimes we do it as a group. So we mention all the positive points from that presentation, and then we'll give some examples or suggestions of what might have been done to improve that. And it's all done in a very casual setting, so there's no intimidation from anyone. Experience in leadership development through training and club involvement. So as in all clubs, we have different positions: president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and different activities that you could get leadership skills in to help your organization and leadership skill ability. Unlimited opportunities for personal and professional growth, access to a wealth of educational materials and resources on public speaking, listening skills, meeting protocol, use of technology in presentations, and communication in conferences and meetings. And as I mentioned, for those of you parents who are out there who have children, a lot of times when I speak to the parents about this, they get so excited. It's like, yeah, I'd like to get my son or daughter a little bit more confident in speaking in front of their class and preparing them for high school, preparing them for college. This is an excellent way to do it. We have a Gavel Club that meets just after our regular meeting on Saturday mornings. It's the first and third Saturday of each month at the Carrick Library. As I said, soon to be moving to the Knoxville Library, but there's a phone number and a website on there. And please come and join us, get in touch with us, and bring me your answer to my question. I want everybody to graduate, so please come and visit us. Thank you so much for watching today.